Hi, everybody. How's everyone doing?
Great.
Good, bad, okay, medium. So my name is Marguerite Ferreira. Like Hila mentioned, I am a member at Kinetic Studio. I'll be sharing more about Kinetic. We're a community wellness center in the community in Windsor Hills. We have cardio, strength training, yoga classes every day. It's been a saving grace for me. So I will share more about that experience and how it relates to my mental health a little bit later. So, and Trish, you don't have to video, just pictures. Okay, thanks. It's my sister. But yeah, so just to give a little bit of background, I grew up in South LA in this area, Crenshaw community. My mom, it was 4 of us that were raised together. My sister's here. I'm one of 7, so there's a lot that couldn't be here, but they've all been integral into my health and healing. So I grew up in a really wonderful household. My aunt Gloria is here, and had a lot of fun. You know, had toys, everything you could think of. My mom's a nurse. She worked 3 days a week, so she was with us 4 days a week. So it was just a wonderful childhood. I mean, I don't really have many complaints. So fast forward, I'll jump to college. I went to college on the East Coast in Williams College in Massachusetts. So I went from South Central LA to East Coast. Williams ranked #1 school in the country over Harvard, Princeton, Yale. Wonderful school. I excelled in high school, never had any academic challenges, was really just a star student. So went to Williams. My first 3 years were actually great. I was very involved on campus. I was in the Black Student Union. I was very involved in activism. I am a singer, songwriter, pianist. Some of you know this. So I was in the gospel choir. That was a big part of my experience. And I also was one of the co-directors one semester. So wonderful time. My first 3 years, everything's going well. So I studied abroad my junior spring in Madrid, Spain. Anybody been to Spain? Europe? Yeah, Europe in the house. Okay, cool. Loved it. I'm sure you guys loved it. I loved the architecture. It was beautiful. Just the people, everything about Spain was amazing, right? So I go to Spain for 5 months. Time of my life. First time I drank. I never got drunk because I don't do that. But like first time legally, and it was just a wonderful experience. So, but things started to kind of get a little bit funky when I came back. So I was, how old was I? 20. 24 now. I was 20 years old. Came back. 21 actually. And so I started having all these weird thoughts, like, I'm a Christian, I've been a Christ follower all of my life, and I started questioning my faith. Like, I was like, is heaven real? Is hell real? I started having these weird fears about death and dying. I did not know where it was coming from. So over the next 3-week period, I was traveling back to my college, went to my friend's house in Massachusetts, and I did not sleep for 3 weeks. Like, up and down, maybe getting 2 hours a night. And I just kept having all of these fears about dying and death, and I didn't know what was going on. I was like, is this a spiritual attack from Satan? What's going on? So anyway, I ended up going to a business program at Dartmouth College, the Ivy League school in New Hampshire. I was there the first week, and these thoughts kept persisting. My sleep was horrible. I was talking to friends. I have college friends from around the nation, and they were like praying with me, being like, it's okay, you don't have to fear death, all this stuff. Then one night, I was on the phone with my brother who's in LA. He was trying to get me to calm down and sleep. I had a thought of self-harming, and I was like, this is weird. Like, it was interesting. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew that the right side of Marguerite knew that it wasn't right. So I ended up calling the director of the business program I was at Tuck Business School, and she immediately called my family. They were in LA, I was in New Hampshire, and we went to the hospital. So I was hospitalized for about 3 to 5 days, and I was still in a loop. I didn't know. The doctors were asking me all kinds of questions. I was confused. My mom was calling. She was trying to get on a plane to come get me, and I didn't know what was going on. So when you're in the hospital, if you're in a psychosis, which I later found out that I was in a psychotic episode, you're put on what's called a 5150, typically. So you have nothing in the hospital. Like literally, they strip you of your phone. Luckily, they had a computer. I was able to email my family members, like, okay, I'm alive. I mean, my friends and my family, like, I'm okay, I'm in the hospital. I mean, it was weird. I was sick, but I was still able to think, like, process things. I was like, okay, I'm in the hospital. This is weird. It's not right. So my mom came to rescue me. Before she even came, one of my best friends from college, her mom drove from Massachusetts to come. She's a saving grace. Her name is, I call her Mama Farrell. She came, kind of took care of me at the hospital before my own mother came. She's like another mother to me. So again, in life, you need supports. There's so many different supports that we can access. And she came before my mom was able to get to me. My mom came, you know, she was there. We went home. I was still like, you know, it was crazy. I was waking up in the middle of the night thinking people were trying to harm me. I didn't know what was going on. You know, they had put me on trazodone, sleeping medication to try to get me sleep. And so then we eventually got an appointment at UCLA Medical Center with a psychiatrist. And that appointment, the psychiatrist, Dr. Kang, was like, okay, you're in a psychosis. We need to prescribe you medication. And so they immediately put me on risperidone, which is known for like weight gain and all this stuff. So that was that. During that time period, in that summer, it was 2013, I was in intensive therapy once a week with a cognitive behavioral therapist. She was able to help me get out of this sort of psychotic sort of thoughts and fears of death and dying and all this stuff. She was phenomenal. I thank God for her, Dr. Kempinski. And then I was also introduced to yoga for the first time, actually at Crenshaw Yoga and Dance. Anybody know about Crenshaw Yoga? They've been around not too far in the area. And I was in a class with Adrienne. She's, I believe, 76 now, and just phenomenal. I mean, I struggled through the class because I was still sick and I was still dealing with hearing voices and didn't know what was going on. I mean, I knew I was sick and I was on medication. And so that was sort of that period. And then my mom was like, okay, you're doing a lot better. Let's try to get you back to school. So this is sort of the second phase. So 2013, we were like, okay, let's go back to Williams. Let's finish senior year. Let's go back with a bang. We can do this thing, right? So I go back to college, back to Williams on the East Coast from LA. That first week, I'm dealing with depression. I can't get out of bed. I can't go to class. I don't know what's going on. I talked to one of the deans, and I'm like, you know what, maybe I should take a semester off. My mom had already come pack me up. She packed me with all my bags. My room was set up. After it was 2 weeks in, could not do the regular functionalities of life. And so I ended up deciding, you know what, God, I need to take a semester off. I need to do what's right for my health. I need to figure out how to get better. At that point, I still didn't know what illness I had. I didn't know what psychiatric illness I did have. And so, you know, when I went back home, this was now second phase, fall 2013, September through December. By God's grace, I was actually accepted into an 8-week UCLA medical program, depression treatment program. So it was for people that had intense depression, and I learned a lot about cognitive behavioral therapy. I learned about mindfulness. I learned about suicide prevention and a lot of different really positive things. My social worker was phenomenal at UCLA. Changed my life. Great. So by God's grace, praise God again. I'm a very spiritual person. You'll hear me say praise God a lot. I ended up going back to Williams in January 2014, and I was there, finished my 2 semesters very successfully, got 3.5 GPA both semesters, had a Black therapist on campus who was integral in my healing, Beverly. She was really centering, and I didn't have any episodes. At that point, I still didn't know what my diagnosis was. My mom actually knew, but did not want to tell me because she didn't want me to be fearful, and I'll be sharing the diagnosis in a few minutes. She didn't want me to be fearful of or have me think that I couldn't do something, which has good and bad sort of things to it, but she made that choice, and I didn't know. So I just thought, oh, it's a one-time thing. I was just in this psychosis. It's just one time. So anyway, I graduated Williams December 2014. So when I graduated, January 2015 through May, I actually worked at Bright Star Schools. Has anyone heard of Bright Star? It's a charter school in LA. I worked for Bright Star full-time doing teacher recruitment work and HR, which was a wonderful experience, loved it. And then I had actually already been accepted to a master's in education program in Boston that I was going to do in August of that year. And so I was ready, I finished the internship, I was ready to go, but then 3 weeks before the internship started, I started having weird thoughts again. I had thoughts of self-doubt. I started to get depressed. I didn't think I could do the program. It was going to be a pretty rigorous program, 6 days a week, and a master's program of tutoring and teaching students, so it was going to be busy. At this point, I knew my diagnosis. I had found out earlier this year that I had schizophrenia affective disorder. Does anybody know what that disorder consists of? Anybody? Anyone want to shout out things they know?
Yeah.
I'll mention, I'll just talk about it. Oh, you want to shout out?
Your voices.
Voices. Anybody else know anything about the disorder?
Yes, I have schizophrenia.
Okay. So.
I hear voices and
Hallucinations. So those were the symptoms I was having. Thank you for sharing and being vulnerable. So I was diagnosed with schizophrenia affective disorder. So in schizophrenia, like other mental illnesses, there are sort of subsets of the illness. I have major depression as part of my illness, and I deal with thoughts of self-harm and hearing voices telling me to harm myself. That's when I'm really sick. I'm on medication, I have psychiatry. My psychiatry is at UCLA. I'm very thankful. I have the best doctors. I recently switched psychiatrists. I actually go to the schizophrenia clinic there. So for those who may be looking for another place, it's wonderful. My team of treatment, my treatment team is phenomenal. And so anyway, I was depressed. I didn't know what was going on. So we were like, well, let's just give it a shot. Let's go to Boston. Let's go back to Boston. So I went to Boston to this program, Match. And, my mom packed me up. I was ready to go. First week, struggled. Broken out. I was breaking out crying. Didn't know why I was having these outbreaks of crying. I was like, what's going on? I'm a prayerful person. I read my Bible. I had all these tools, but I was still struggling. And I was on medication, right? But even if you're on medication, you can still have difficulty. Medication is not the do-all, fix-all. That's why Keela is stressing it's a lifestyle, it's wellness, and I'll be speaking about Kinetic and sort of how they've transformed me as well soon. And so I had to come home. But I actually was like, okay, this is time 2, like setback 2, like Akila's saying, there's gonna be challenges, but you have to be able to bounce back. And so I had to come home, but I told my mom was like, okay, I can come, I can stay with you 3 weeks, I can take off work. I was like, Mom, I really prayed about it. I was like, I need to learn how to live and cope on my own with this health issue. I need to really learn the tools. I need to figure this out. And so, sort of the third phase, I came home. That was 2015, so that was September through December. I'm a very hard worker. I don't like not working. So I took like 2 weeks off, and then by God's grace, Crystal in the back there, so I've worked with Crystal here, and I actually got a job offer through Margaret McNair. She's a lawyer, and she's a good friend of mine. Her daughter and I have been friends for years. And the Broom Family Foundation. So I worked for them for almost a year doing community outreach work, which is similar work I'm doing now for Kinetic. And I also was kind of doing marketing work. They're a youth advocacy nonprofit, and they offer free legal services to students in special needs. So if you're interested in them, I can talk to you after. The Broom Family Foundation, all of their services are free. So I worked for them. Wonderful experience. I ended up working back at Bright Star again, the charter school. They rehired me. It was wonderful. I ended up working at Brain Balance, special needs. I had like 2 jobs at once, basically part-time. I only worked 20 hours a week because that was what I could handle. Full-time setting was like not for me given my health condition. And so during this period, 2015, I really started to find other outlets of therapy besides actual therapy. So in May of that year, this is a little bit earlier, I started recording my EP. Anybody know what an EP is? It's called an extended play. It's shorter length than an album for artists. So typically artists will release an EP, which is about 6 songs, 3 to 6 songs. So I started recording my EP. Fast forward now, it's almost done. It's done. I'm getting ready to release it this summer. Like I said, I'm a singer, songwriter, pianist. I'm pursuing my music and really doing healing work now. But I was singing a lot. At one point I was in a relationship, and that distracted me, but got out of that. And I just kept recording music. Did songwriting. It was wonderful, very therapeutic. I really discovered yoga during this time. I was really at Crenshaw Yoga and Dance. I was taking their classes. That was sort of the only yoga center in the community. So I was doing yoga. But then it was like weird. I had gained all this weight. Mr. Harold Turner spoke about it. His daughter in the beginning has gained about 50 pounds from medications. I'm keeping track of time. About 6 minutes. So I had gained 45 pounds in 3 years because of risperidone. I was at 175 pounds, went to the doctor, my PCP. I was pre-diabetic, and I'm only 24. So we were like, I had a wake-up call. We're like, and it wasn't my fault. Like, I didn't do this to myself. We're like, I have to do something. So again, UCLA, best care in the city, number 5 in the nation. My mom works there, so we were able to get me into this 8-week healthy eating program at UCLA Medical Center. So it's for weight loss. People, if you're interested, again, it's a wonderful program. People that want to lose weight. And it changed my life. It was taught by doctors, dietitians. So now I actually know how to eat the foods that will help my brain, right? Like, healthy beets and olives and, kale and all this good food. I've been trying to eat well for years, never worked. And then, let me tell you about something else. So, apart from weight gain, you also get really tired from these medications. They exhaust you. I'm currently taking Latuda, and I slept for 4 hours today because I was so tired because of side effects. So I still struggle today, but again, resilience bouncing back. So last year, it was 2016. I think it was June. Did you guys open in June?
Mm-hmm.
June. So I'm driving down 54th. Anybody know 54th Street? 54th and Crenshaw. Woo woo. That's where I grew up. Woo. South Central for life. So Crenshaw. Anyway, I see this place, 54th and Dean, with all these gold balloons, and I'm like, what is this? All these people are outside. And so I'm like, seems like a dope place. So I go there, and this girl's like, oh yeah, this is a fitness studio. We have classes. I was like, oh my God. So I think it was like a week later, I was like, let me go check this place out. So I went in there, met Keola, met Lanicia Vigner, or Lala, otherwise known as Lala. And I just felt it was cool. Like, it's a beautiful space. It's like really nice, and the girls were so nice. And so I started taking classes there. At Kinetic Studio, we have yoga and cardio, TRX, kids classes, everything you could think of, Monday through Saturday. And so I only took maybe like 2 classes within 2 months. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go, pay my $15, go in. But then I was like, let me just commit to more classes. So I kept talking to Keola and Lala, and then I realized that they were Christian as well, and that they're all about like health and nutrition and changing lives. And so I got a membership for a month and really took a lot of classes, and they changed my life. Like, I learned more about nutrition as I was taking the UCLA class, but it was different. Like, they were, we call ourselves a wellness center, and they really cared about my health. And I didn't reveal to them the schizophrenia until about maybe 3 months in. And they were like, well, like, thanks for letting us know. Like, we're so happy we can, like, help you. And it was just a welcoming space. And so they've been very integral in my healing. I'm there 4 days a week now. Like, I do yoga every day. If I'm not on yoga on YouTube, I'm at Kinetic, or maybe sometimes Crenshaw Yoga. I still support her at Dr. Zeri's yoga studio down the street, which you can chat with her. And, so they're very integral in my healing. And I wanted to talk about the power of faith. So I have about 3 more minutes. I'm a Christian. That's been an integral part of my healing. I think if you're trying to heal with mental illness or anything, you really need some spirituality. I think whether it's yoga, that could be for you, whether it's prayer, whether you're Buddhist, whether you're Muslim. I don't discriminate against any faith. I think they're all powerful. But like I said, I'm a Jesus follower, and that works for me. But you have to figure out what works for you. And so, again, Kinetics changed my life. And so I wanted to talk about preventative care in the end. I'm a really big believer of preventative care. So, for those who have schizophrenia affective disorder, you know that you will have setbacks, major depression. I've dealt with major depression like 10 times in my life already. It's really tough. I still struggle now. And I do have thoughts of self-harm. Praise God, I have never attempted to harm myself. By God's grace, thank God, His hand has been over me. I've never attempted anything. My family, my sister, my aunt, my grandma who's 99, this woman prays over me. I mean, her prayer partner prays over me, my mom, my siblings. I have the best team of support. I'm very lucky. A lot of people, my sister's a social worker. She's working with homeless youth. They don't have this kind of help. And so people struggle. And so I recommend, if you're ever struggling with the thought of self-harm, don't be afraid to call the suicidal hotline. I prefer that over the hospital, because hospital will put you on a 5150 and it's not fun. I've had to call that number several times. Just Google it. But it's helpful because it's free counseling. Why not? We're so ashamed to talk about these things that help us, but we can't be ashamed when at my college, one of her good friends just killed himself. They had to go to the funeral because nobody was talking to him. He wasn't getting help. He was identified as gay. People just were mean to him. It was horrible. So we can prevent more suicides and more people having these body shaming and self-hatred talks, we can do a lot more in society. So if you know someone struggling with depression or anxiety, or if you think you might have PTSD or bipolar, or you're not sure, go to somewhere like NAMI. Find out. There's free clinics all over the city. And so some things, as I'll end with, have been integral to my health and healing. I have like a minute left. Healthy foods, omega-3, which is great for the brain, vitamin D, exercise. Now 4 to 5 days a week, I've lost 10 pounds. Woo! So I'm trying to lose 30 more this year. Kinetic, again, my saving grace. I go to Dr. Zeri's a couple of times a week as well, her studio. And I'm just trying to continue on this healthy eating path and healthy way of life. I use essential oils. Lavender helps me sleep. I still struggle with sleep because of my medication, but lavender has been integral in that. And so family, friends, my grandma, therapy, Kinetic, NAMI. I took a peer-to-peer class with my peers, with Mr. Harold Turner's daughter. Family Yoga Family. If you have a family member who's sick, you can learn how to care for them better. It's all free at NAMI, which is wonderful. And I'll shout out to all the Black healers and all the yoga people that have saved me in this area. And not just the Black healers, but healers of color in general. Lamert Park, this place is booming on a Sunday. Come check it out. Lots of life and vibrant life. And lastly, I will end with, again, hope, resilience. You have to have hope in life. I mean, this took a lot for me to this is my first public event speaking about my health challenges, but my friends, I emailed all 22 of my friends from college. They're so proud of me. They were like, oh my God, I can't wait to see the video. My friends, I didn't even mention them. None of them are out here. A couple of them are in LA, not from college though, and they've helped me so much. They've prayed, not all of them are Christian, but they've supported me, and I have the biggest network ever. And I want to heal people. I think having a mental illness has caused me to realize my callings in life, that I'm passionate about healing work. I want to become yoga certified next year. I'm a songwriter, singer, pianist. My music will be out later this year. I want to heal people through music. And then I also want to be a mental health practitioner and get my psych doctorate from either Pepperdine or Fuller, the Christian school in Pasadena. So I have big goals, and I'm dreaming big. And sometimes it's hard, and I struggle, but thankfully I have my family and my aunt and my sister and everybody who's there supporting me. And I just want to thank you all. So, yeah.